Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session that is on inner voice explorations. So, here with me is Mr. Chandrahaas Garu, who's the MBA professor of Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. And today we're going to be dwelling upon this topic, the specific subtopic on inner voice. That is very interesting, inner voice versus intuition. So, personally, I've actually thought inner voice and intuition have been synonyms, are synonyms, and we hear, either intuition or inner voice, are just coming from within, that is the Atman inside. So this is very interesting, and let's go ahead. Chandrahas Garu, welcome, and thank you very much. Firstly, thank you very much for accepting this invite and willing to share your perspectives on inner voice, and where we will be going ahead with inner voice versus intuition is going to be an interesting take. So, yeah, you can. The first question that maybe came to my mind was, what is actually differentiating factor between inner voice and intuition? So, if you can get started with that, yeah, it'll help.
Yeah, sure. Sairam, and thank you so much for inviting me onto your podcast. And happy to share my thoughts and opinions on this very interesting series on inner voice explorations. And the topic that you have given me today, the subtopic, that is the difference between inner voice and versus intuition, is again a very interesting topic, and I feel something that it's also very important because uh, even though the world portrays intuition and inner voice as the same, there are a lot of fundamental differences between both of them. So let me start with a simple example. If I ask you this question, 2 plus 2 is equal to, uh, what's the answer?
Answer should be 4.
Yeah. So did the answer come to you immediately, or did you have to think about it?
It came to me immediately. Maybe it has become a part of my memory. Or
Yeah, it comes immediately. So
yes,
similarly, uh, let's say, we are able to identify, if I show you a picture of a person, based on the facial features, would you be able to immediately identify if the person is angry or sad or smiling, happy or crying? How long would it take for you to identify the emotion from the picture?
yes. It takes a time. It takes a bit of time, maybe depending on how willing to connect I am with, and that empathy degree that I have at that moment. Yes, it
Yeah.
takes a bit of time, is
Yeah,
what I see.
yeah. So most people would be able to identify with it within a couple of seconds maximum. Just
Yeah,
looking at
yeah,
the picture, is this person angry based on the facial expression? Uh,
yeah.
but on the other hand, let's say somebody is a pet owner, has a
Hmm.
lot of dogs and cats.
Hmm.
The owner specifically might be able to identify some patterns,
Yeah.
whether the dog is angry, cat is angry, which others might not be able to identify. Or a mother would be able to identify a specific pattern in her baby through which she
Yes.
can identify instantly when she looks at the baby if the baby is hungry or angry or
Yes. Yes.
irritated.
Yes.
So
That's true.
these are all part of our human abilities, and this is what Professor Daniel Kahneman, in his best-selling book, is a Nobel Prize-winning researcher, and he's written this very popular book called "Thinking Fast and Slow." And in this book, he describes this kind of thinking as system one thinking, where
Okay.
it's our mind processing in the background, but it almost looks like we are not thinking.
Yeah.
So, so this is what he terms as intuition, and this is what the world generally thinks as intuition, wherein you think without thinking,
Yeah.
right? So this comes from three different reasons. One
Yeah.
is when you become very familiar with those patterns. Second, when you have a great deal of experience in that area, like I talked
Yes.
about, let's say a pet owner with a lot of dogs and cats.
Yeah. Right.
right?
So it's
And
an
three,
habitual
when the
pattern for
when
the
the
pet owner.
patterns kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so, and when the patterns kind of seem to be repeating, you find repeatability. So
Yes,
you assume that, so for example, facial expressions are patterns which keep repeating across individuals, across societies and cultures. So
yes,
a person's smile is the same. An Indian smiling will be very similar to an African smiling,
yes.
South African smiling probably. So we are able to identify them very quickly. This is called as system one thinking, which originates in our mind.
Yeah.
On the
So
other
there is a
hand,
background
inner
thinking,
voice
but
is some,
yeah, there is a background thinking that is happening, the processing that is happening, but we don't know that it was happening. We just kind of put it out in our words, but there is a background thinking that is happening. Yeah,
yeah,
right. Please go ahead. Yeah,
and yeah. So this is what most of the world considers to be intuition,
yeah,
right? So, for example, let's say there is a cricket captain or a coach. Everybody is coming and telling him that this they're going to play a T20 match in the stadium
yeah,
today, and everybody is coming and telling him that this pitch seems to be a very good wicket to bat on, so it will continue like that. So it is better to bowl first if you win the toss. But he wins the toss and he bats first, and he tells, I went with my gut, or
yeah,
in or you might say, I just felt that my energy, I just felt that I intuitively felt that I should go for a bat, because even though everyone is telling that, I could see that uh, the wicket will start holding a little bit after some time. So she has not objectively collected a soil sample and analyzed it, but just by
yes,
looking at it, he feels it, right?
yeah,
So this is what most of the world considers to be intuition. Now, is this intuition? Yes, it's intuition originating from the mind, and it's of course some when the patterns repeat,
yeah,
then this intuition works most of the time.
yeah,
That's why, but humans are prone to biases, like
yeah,
recency bias, anchoring bias. So all these biases are listed by Professor Daniel Kahneman in his book.
mm,
So, so sometimes they don't work. But when we talk about the inner voice,
yeah,
or as Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba calls it, our conscience,
yeah,
then the source of the conscience is not from the mind.
yes,
It is from a higher consciousness,
yeah,
and in fact, this conscience or the inner voice acts as a bridge between the
yeah,
conscious and
yeah,
consciousness.
yeah,
So that's what Sri Satya Sai Baba says: from conscious to conscience
yeah,
to consciousness. So
yeah,
these are the three steps involved,
yeah,
and this conscience acts as a bridge, so that the
mm,
individual soul, or the jivatma, as we would like to call it in the Sanatana Dharma tradition,
yes,
can become one with the Paramatma or consciousness. So it's a bridge. So that's
yes,
what is inner voice. Now, now this inner voice itself might be a limiting term, in the sense
yeah,
that this consciousness can interact or communicate with the individual soul, not just through the voice. It could be through
yeah,
a vision, it could
yes,
be just through knowing, it could just be
yes,
through a feeling. I
yeah,
just feel a sense of love whenever I think
yeah,
of this. So that probably I'm being guided to do. You might have had such experiences before, and I'm sure many of the listeners also might have had experiences like that, where you
yes,
just feel that this is the right thing to do.
yeah,
So that feeling also is our inner conscience trying to guide us. Or it could just be
yeah,
knowing, I just know that
yeah,
if I do this, there's going to be a mistake. And it's this knowing is different from the intuition that the world generally, it's not arising from
yeah,
your experience, past experiences. It's
yes,
coming from a higher source. So that is the key
yeah,
difference that I would like to bring to your attention today,
yeah,
that our inner voice is fundamentally different from intuition.
yeah, yeah,
And while we call it inner voice, but it could be inner seeing, it could be inner
Yes.
hearing, right?
Yeah.
It could be inner feeling, it could be inner
Experience.
knowing, any of these things. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just could be an experience through which you come to know that, you get guidance, or you get
Yeah.
a
An
better
inner
perspective
realization.
about your life
Yeah.
and things. Yeah, it could
Yeah.
just be an inner realization when you
Yeah.
sit silently for meditation. It could be a inner realization also. So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
the qualitative difference between an
Yeah.
inner voice and intuition.
Yeah. So just to reword whatever you have explained, I see three components here. One is a conscious part of our mind, that is our consciousness. One is universal consciousness, that is the highest, that is a higher guiding source, that is a source. So the conscience that is within us is communicating the message that is coming from the universal consciousness to our conscious part of our mind. So that is what is inner voice. And yes, it cannot be limited with just voice. And also, I see it as it cannot be limited with the language that our brain so our brain gives it some words and language, gives this inner voice some words and language for a human being to understand. But again, the the words or the language or that sentence cannot actually justify the experience or the feeling of bliss or the feeling of love, as you've mentioned, an inner realization. The words limit this realization, but just for the mind to understand, I mean, for the processing unit, the brain that we have, because I have to, as a human being, I have to understand, and I need language for that to put it out as well. I want to express that out. So I'm using language, I'm using certain words, but these words might actually limit the inner realization or the inner experience or the inner feeling, that bliss that we actually that we have been guided by the universal consciousness, right? Don't you think this also is
Yeah.
true? Like, yeah, it cannot be limited, but yet we need language to put it out, to express it out.
Yeah, yeah. So it cannot be limited, of course, and sometimes it cannot. It need not be in words also, right? So
Yes.
sometimes
Mhm.
you might hear it in your. So it might take a form. Let's say you're very, very devoted to a particular guru or a divine being.
Yeah.
Let's say
Yeah.
somebody is a great devotee of Lord Vigneshwara or Ganapati.
Yeah. A
Then
deity. Yeah.
the higher consciousness might take assume that form of that deity,
Yes. Yes.
and communicate messages through the deity.
Yes. Right.
And
Yeah.
so it need not be purely, I mean, through words, but
Yes.
its words also are a part of the whole experience. And
Exactly.
usually
Yeah.
different people have different experiences with the inner voice. So
Yeah.
no two people, uh, experiences are the same with the inner voice. But
Yeah.
there's one thing which is common, which I've seen common across people, is that they feel a great sense of joy, bliss, and reassurance when they connect to the inner voice. That is a constant. If you are left feeling afraid or fear
Yes.
or any heavy emotion like anger, it's
Yes.
probably not from the conscience, it's coming from
Yeah.
the mind. But if
Yeah.
it's if you are left with a feeling of bliss, joy, reassurance,
Yeah.
calmness, peace, then these are all the signals that you
Yeah.
have just experienced your connection with the inner voice
Yeah.
of conscience. So that
Yeah.
seems to be common, but how it appears, it could be
Yeah.
just your guru coming and standing in front of you and having a normal
Yes.
conversation with you,
Yes.
right? It
Yes.
could be, and there's no time limit to it.
Yeah. It's
It
just a
depends
flash
on
of moment.
the
Yeah.
level of silence that has.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the level of silence that you can how much you can silence the mind, how
Mm.
calm you can, how relaxed you are, the better your connection is usually. And
Yes.
there's nothing like a time limit. You can have a conversation with your inner voice for a few minutes or hours at a time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and retain that connection, the stability in the connection, if your mind is, if you've worked, if you've done your sadhanas, spiritual practice,
Yes.
and you've
Yeah.
calmed your mind,
Creating, being
etc.
silent. Yeah. Right. So I see it
Yeah,
as the
yeah,
inner voice is always available and ready to speak to you, to guide you. But are we ready to receive that input? When I am carrying blocks to receive that input, it is not reaching me. Yeah. And also for the point that you mentioned, that each one's inner voice could be different. Yeah, I see it as each one's problem is unique. So the guidance also will be very much unique. Though, for example, for college going people, the problem is the same, like maybe aiming for an exam, aiming for a rank, aiming for a result, the problem is the same. Still, their baggage, I mean, their background or their perspective of how they are viewing the problem and the background work that they have done again is different. So, definitely the guidance has to be different. Here, I am also seeing it as it is a divine guidance which is giving unique solutions, unique answers, because divinity knows everything. We might be limited to what just happening. Okay, this is the exam and this is the syllabus I have to study. But divinity knows beyond that. I know what else you are carrying. I know what other maybe some guilt I have been carrying and that is blocking me from preparing well for this exam. Maybe I'm carrying fear of success. Maybe I'm carrying fear of failure. So, divinity, knowing everything, the complete picture of an individual self, the divine self, the universal self, knows the complete picture of the individual self. Definitely, that guidance is coming from a holistic view. It's not that okay, this is a problem and this is your solution. And yes, no two people have the same baggage or the same background that they are viewing the world with, and hence their guidance also is different, is unique. Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
In fact, uh, uh, so um, so once Sri Sathya Sai Baba said that,
yeah.
there was a couple who were facing some issues with their
Yeah.
children, etc., and somebody was speaking to Baba on behalf of the couple, and trying to say, Swami, you have to cure them. So he said that you don't see what I see,
Yeah.
right? When I see an individual so I can see their past, present, future,
Yeah.
so my reaction is different,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So the universal consciousness knows the
Yes.
past, present, future, etc. So the
Yes.
response would be different, but for
Yes.
that moment the response would be perfect.
Yeah. Correct.
And one example I would, or one more perspective I just want to give is, you, in my experience at least,
Yeah.
and it's largely true for others as well, is that when you speak about the inner voice, the guidance, it's usually mostly meant for something which is something which you have to tackle, or do,
Hmm.
or be uh, in the immediate next moment or this moment.
Yes.
So it would not tell the divine guidance. Usually, very rare it happens, of course, but very very rare that
Yeah.
the divine guidance is about something that you have to do 10 years from now
Yeah. Right.
or 20
Very well
years
true.
from now.
Yeah. Right.
It's very 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 very, it reveals the next step. Then
Yeah.
once you follow the guidance and reach that step, the next step is revealed to you.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So,
So for
so it's
yeah.
purely, the divine guidance is purely. That's why the the foundation of receiving divine guidance is, uh, number one, faith.
Yeah.
You should have the faith that the divine exists,
Yeah.
the higher consciousness exists,
Yeah.
and you should also have the faith that the uh, higher consciousness loves you and would like to interact with you.
Yes. Exactly.
But faith doesn't end with that. You should
Yeah.
also have the faith. For the faith to be complete, so you cannot clap with just one hand. You need both hands to clap. So just
Yeah.
like you need faith that the higher consciousness exists and it loves you, you must also have the faith that you are worthy to receive what is being given by the higher consciousness.
Yes. Yes.
So the both
Yeah.
both when both hands come together,
Yeah.
in that spark, you actually, the connection with the higher consciousness is established.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's the three elements of faith that I would say. The number first one is the faith that higher consciousness exists, that God exists.
Yes.
Second, higher consciousness loves you,
Yes.
unconditionally loves you despite all your perceived flaws or errors, etc. So it
Yeah.
loves you and would love to communicate with you. And
Yeah.
number three, it is that the it is that you are capable,
Yeah.
you, of receiving that guidance. You don't need any, you don't have to be a rishi or a great
Yeah.
sage who has meditated for thousands of lifetimes to receive this guidance. Once you
Yeah.
silence your mind a little bit,
Yeah.
right, that's once you can tune in that, spend that a little bit of time, you are
Yeah.
ready.
Yes, yes.
So
So it's like
these are
what
the three
beliefs I am
aspects of it.
carrying. Yeah, what beliefs I am carrying about the God. Like some people have kind of limiting beliefs, like, okay, God may not love me or God may not help me. My life has always been like this, or life is unfair, God is unfair. So how am I carrying this perspective about God? Also, how am I having my perspective of myself? How worthy do I think I am to receive God's love or to receive miracles or to receive guidance? So all of this put together will create that space to receive the divine guidance. If I am blocking myself and the universal consciousness is ever ready, ever graceful, ever forgiving, and kind of trying to peep through these blocks, and still I am holding that block very tight or very hard, then there is no way I am kind of opening myself to receive that guidance. Yeah, rightly said.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you would like to add something, or then I have a question.
No, no, I think you have summarized it quite well. I think that's
Yeah.
it. That
Haha.
that it's more about
So,
removing our limiting beliefs.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, just if we can speak about a practical implementation, and I'm sure this will definitely come from one of your experiences, because that is what will again help create the faith that in anybody who's watching this video, who's hearing this podcast, that yes, I can do this very much in my everyday life. I need not leave everything that I'm doing here, or I have to avoid my difficult situations, and then I have to channelize my mind or channelize my being to receive the inner voice. But right through, right when I'm going through the situations, I can receive the guidance. So I would like to ask you a practical implementation of what the audience can do, say in the next 24 hours, just one habit, just one tweak that they can implement in their mind, or the way they think, or the way they see things around, or the way the relation they have with their own self. Just one thing maybe that has come, again, coming from your experiences.
Yeah. So I would just like to share one of my experiences, which happened. I think this happened in 2016,
Yeah.
in the month of April. So I'm talking about exactly 10 years ago. Uh, I
Okay.
was uh, I was doing my MBA
Yeah.
at Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning, and I had finished my first year, and we had gone for an industrial uh, tour to Hyderabad,
Yeah.
and the plan for the tour was that we would go to pack up our entire luggage that we have in the hostel or whatever we would like to carry home, go for
Yeah.
the tour, and from the
Yeah.
tour head back home.
Yeah.
So, uh, so in our university, mobile phones, our usage of mobile phones is very restricted,
Yeah.
and so there was a room phone available in our hostel, but we did not have a mobile phone as such. Uh,
Yeah.
so I had given my phone to some custodian in the hostel, but because I had not switched it on for a full semester of 6 months or whatever,
Yeah.
the SIM got deactivated. I was not aware of it.
Yeah.
So when I got back the phone for this tour, I realized that the SIM is deactivated, and it's I didn't have the time just to find another SIM, etc. So I was
Yeah.
basically without a mobile phone. So we had gone to Hyderabad, and those days, of course, there were I had the luxury of being a student without any distractions, because I used to spend a lot
Yeah.
of time doing my spiritual practice and uh, meditating, singing devotional songs, just
Yeah.
trying to be silent, just trying to love
Yeah.
God more. So that's what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. And what happened was the connection with my inner voice was constant. It's
Yeah.
not that I have to sit in a place and
Yeah.
you know
It has
and
to
I
come
have
by
to receive the
default. Yeah. It
guidance.
has become your
It
default.
just
Right.
flows. It just flow. It just used to flow through me when I'm
Yeah.
in my interactions, and there was a constant flow of a flood of divine guidance throughout every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
So I finished my industrial tour, and I had to go to my uncle's house, which was uh, in another part of Hyderabad compared to where we are staying. We were staying in the nuclear fuel complex, which is
Yeah.
one side of the city, and I had to travel to Sanat Nagar, where my uncle's house was, which is on the other side of
Yeah.
Hyderabad. And I had taken my friend's mobile and called him up and asked him for the route to his home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she told me that, this is the bus stop where you have to get down, and this is where you have to, you have to take an auto or a cab from there. And he basically told me the entire complex route,
Yeah.
at the end of which I would reach his home.
Yeah.
Now, I got down at the right bus stop, but then my conscious mind just could not remember the route that he told.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just told to my guru or God, I said,
Yes.
Swami, you have to guide me to get to his home. So if you tell me left, I'll get onto an auto. If you tell me go to left, take a left, I'll tell him to take a left. If you tell
Yeah.
me from within, take a right, I'll ask him to take a right. Keep
Yeah.
going straight, then I'll keep going straight. The moment you tell me to stop from within, I'll ask the person to stop.
Yeah.
So I had this arrangement, and then I was constantly being guided, so about 15-20 minutes left, right, through all the alleys which I had to take. And
Yeah.
from within um, you know the word came Sairam very strongly. Sairam, I had
Yeah.
told him that, if you say Sairam from within, then that's an indication for me to stop. So
Yeah.
when it came, I asked the auto person to stop, and the auto had exactly, trust me, it had stopped exactly in front of my uncle's house. And in
Wow.
fact, I was not so sure, so I was going around, but my uncle came out of his house
Yeah.
because he could see me from inside the house, that I was taking a bigger circle.
Yeah.
So, but actually, the auto had exactly stopped where his house was, just
Wow.
in front of his house. So,
Yeah.
uh, so that's what I would like to point out here is that you don't need to, once you advance in your spiritual practice and
Yes.
experience in the inner voice, then you don't need to sit and close your eyes and meditate,
Yes. Right. Right. It
right?
becomes our
So it
default.
becomes a part of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes a part of you. And yeah, so what simple practice that you can do, uh, the simple practice could be just to uh, uh, so a few things, a few prerequisites, I would say. One is to have your spine straight, or
Yes.
sit straight.
Yes.
Second, be relaxed,
Yeah.
be in a
Very
relaxed
important.
environment where
Yeah.
if you want to receive that. So it's like, you don't have to be stiff,
Yes.
but you
Yes.
need to be relaxed.
Yeah. That is very
So
important.
it's like this. So let's say imagine you're holding a cup in front of God and saying, you're asking God to pour His grace in your bowl, right? So all you have to do is just stay still, and the God's grace will flow
Yeah.
right onto your cup.
Yeah.
Similarly, you just need to stay still and relaxed and hold your mind and being in front of God. Just stay
Yeah.
relaxed. Automatically, the grace. You don't have to. So once you make that prayer, initiate the connection, saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, my dear Lord, I want to speak to you." Then you
Yeah.
don't have to really, try hard to have. So you
Exactly.
just need to
Yeah.
allow the connection to happen. Just like,
Yes. Yes. Correct. It's
God will
about
immediately
allowing.
pour whatever
Correct.
grace into your mouth. Yeah, so it's more
Yeah.
about allowing. So the more,
Yeah.
what happens is, uh, because of the limiting belief that many of us hold, that we need to do something to connect rather than just be relaxed and calm,
Exactly.
the trying actually acts as
Yeah.
an impediment to the connection.
Yeah. Right.
So our effort lies in not in making a connection, but
Yeah.
in relaxing, allowing the divine
Exactly.
guidance to flow through. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So beautifully put that. So with this, I'd like to close with firstly gratitude to you for joining and for sharing your perspectives. Definitely, I have my takeaways, and the viewer, the listener, the audience also will definitely have their takeaways. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you to whoever is watching and listening. Make sure you implement something, some learning that you got from this, whatever you've watched, so that it will make an impact, create an impact in your everyday life. So just before closing, I had two takeaways, so that the viewers also can share their takeaways from whatever you have shared. Yes, the definition or the way we hear, that is one thing, that is the biggest takeaway. But apart from that, the formless universal consciousness takes the name and form of my liking. So if I like the universal consciousness in the form of the deity Ganesha, then it comes as Ganesha and guides me. If I like in the name and the form of Satya Sai Baba, and then the universal consciousness guides me through the name and form of Satya Sai Baba. So as a human, I need language to process. So that language will come from the formless universal consciousness through taking a form of again my liking. So that is a big thing to take away. And when you said about we feel joyful, we feel I mean, when we hear the inner voice, we feel some kind of inner connect that yes, this is, I am being divinely guided. So there, more than any emotion, what I could connect is the security. We feel very secured. I mean, no matter what is happening around us, whatever conflict we are in, or whatever challenge life is throwing at us, I feel very secure that there is this universal consciousness, there is divinity that is guiding me from inside. I need not get scared that the possibility or the probability of me feeling fearful is nullified by actually connecting with the inner voice, and that is making me feel secured. Because I'm secured, I'm happy. Because I'm secured, I'm peaceful. Because I'm secured, I'm able to be that joyful in the outside world with people around. Yes, I also see this as an important takeaway from whatever you've shared. Yeah. So once again, yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Sujay Garu, for the wonderful opportunity to be a part of this divine podcast. I'm sure you're being divinely guided to do this, and thank you to all the listeners for your patient listening. Thank you once again, Zaira.